This is Build Where You Are, an educational podcast series that is for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. Build Where You Are brings you the raw and uncut journeys of entrepreneurs across a range of industries. From food and beverage to apparel and business services, tune in to Season 1 to hear how 10 entrepreneurs built their businesses from the ground up. Welcome to Build Where You Are, a podcast about local entrepreneurship. I'm super excited for our next guest on the show. I know we've had a wide range of folks here, but this is our first guest who is an artist. A lot of folks are wondering, how do you monetize being an artist, and especially a visual artist in today's day and age. So without further ado, I want to welcome Steve Javiel to the show.
Thank you for having me. My name is Steve Javiel. I'm an abstract urban impressionist artist. At the moment, I do mostly like urban decay flowers. The whole thing started because I did a painting for my mom. She loves flowers.
Gotcha.
And I took a risk. At that time, I was like, I needed color in my life. It was right before the pandemic hit. There was something about my artwork that just needed color. And I did a painting for my mom. And in my head, like it's weird, but it's like in my head, like you're telling yourself all these things, you're looking at the image, and I told myself, what if I took that same image and took away all the detail, and just stuck with form, shapes, colors, and I took a risk. I ran with it, and they started selling, so I kind of went with it.
Gotcha.
But prior to that, I was painting urban decay, which I still do.
Yeah.
Urban decay, graffiti walls. Like I love train containers. The way things just decay, to me, that was like true beauty.
So take us all the way back now. When it comes to art in general, was that something that you were always interested in? Was it visual art specifically? Was it painting, or were you just like what's the background there? Like art school?
Yeah. So
parents put paintbrush. Yeah.
So I grew up in LA. Art was just something I've always had a passion for. It makes me happy. It brightens my day. It was something that I knew I was good at.
Got it.
And I went to community college in LA. Went to LA City College. I took all their art programs. And my counselor was like, hey, I think it's time for you to start taking your general and start thinking about like where you want to end up. At that time back then, they used to have they probably still have them, but they're called National Portfolio Days, which in Pasadena Art Center back in LA, they would bring art schools together. And it was a little tough because they would rate your portfolios. Wasn't the greatest artist back then, I was still learning, but they try to give it to you straight on. And the Academy of Art University came up. Like I came across their work or their school. And it was at that time that I went back to school, and the counselor was like, hey, what about this school, which was the Academy of Art. So I felt like for me, like the universe was like San Francisco, maybe. And I've been very fortunate to have like my parents support me. Like since day one. They've never questioned it. I think for them, it was more of like, if this is what you want to do, this is one of the reasons why we came to this country, for you to do what you love to do and pursue something that they never had the opportunity to.
That's major.
And that for me was like, I need to take full advantage of that. Told my dad, I was like, hey, I want to go to art school. Like I want to be in the same boat with other artists and grow. So from there, I ended up in San Francisco. Yeah. Ended up at the Academy of Art University. Did my 3 years. It was 3 years because I did get a lot of my generals transferred.
Got it.
But then it was leaving school. That's when it got real. Because it's like now you're out into the real world. There's no more teachers holding your hand, telling you what to do. You're your own boss. It was tough. It was hard trying to find work at the beginning, but I think little by little you kind of find your way. Yeah.
So-
But at that time too, I didn't have a style. And that's why I wanted to go to school. I wanted to go to school to grow. I did learn all the traditional stuff, but then there comes a point too where like what are you gonna do that's gonna make you different from everybody else?
That's it.
And that's why I came across like the whole urban decay. Like to me, just walking around the city, graffiti, the way walls just kind of fell apart, decayed. I felt like there was something there, and I tried replicating that, and I went with that path.
So I don't know if it was before, going to Academy of Art, or maybe when you were at community college, or maybe just in your upbringing. When was the first time you were paid to do art? Whether somebody commissioned a piece or somebody saw some of yours and bought it. But I'm just curious, when was the first time that you're like, I made money off of my artwork, and this is something that I could turn into a business?
It might have been my aunt, because she was always like, I love angels. If you can pay me this, I will pay you. I was like, what? Like, pay me? I was like, okay. And it felt good.
And how old were you at the time? Around how old were you?
Maybe like in my mid-20s, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. She commissioned me to do a few paintings for her. I was like, this is kind of cool. I was like, this is cool. And then I think at the same time too, I think I might have sold the painting at a gallery show that I had at the Academy of Art.
Okay.
And that was cool. Seeing that red dot on there was like, I mean, if you keep it up, I mean, it's possible. And I guess you're on the right path, because I was painting these abstract paintings, and you're like, is anyone really gonna buy any of these? But you gotta believe. And seeing that red dot was like, okay. It gave me it did give me a little bit of that taste of like, it makes some money here.
Gotcha.
It totally makes some money.
I'm curious if you could talk a bit more just about taking that risk. I feel like when it comes to entrepreneurship of any kind, whether it's art, whether you're a clothing designer, whether you're cooking and food, you have a service, you never know if folks are going to pay money for your product or service until you put it out there in the market and kind of take that risk. And so I feel like art, is very specific, because it's like somebody has to see this, get introduced to this, and then you're like, okay, I can justify paying X amount. And so, how was it just kind of taking that risk and saying, you know what, this is what I'm committing to, and even post art school, like when you're coming out, like, all right, I got to go for it. This is what I just, spent all this time and energy.
I think even before going to the academy, I knew this is what I wanted to do. Like, I knew this is what I wanted to do. I don't know how it was going to happen, but it was going to happen somehow, some way. So coming in here, I already had like that attitude, like that hunger of like, I have to make this work, because I put in so many years of it. And it wasn't until you actually start sharing. Because if you don't share and you just have it in your studio, then no one's going to see it. No one's going to know who you are. You might be telling yourself that maybe these paintings aren't great, but reality is that someone's going to see beauty in your artwork. There's been paintings where, like, not my greatest paintings, and you bring people in and they see it, they're like, oh my God, how much is that piece right there? I'll take it. In my head, I'm like, are you yeah? I'm like, okay, cool, man, hey. If it makes you happy, take it.
Right.
But it wasn't until you actually started sharing. And now that we have social media, put a post, you never know who's gonna see it. I mean, anyone in the world can see your work now. You can't be scared of hiding it or just thinking that it's not good enough. Someone out there is gonna love it. Someone out there is gonna want to buy it.
Gotcha.
Someone out there is gonna pay money for it. So, opposed to just holding it and telling yourself that, oh, maybe the next one is the greatest one.
You're right.
Show them all. Show them all. I've done some abstract portraits where I'm just like, I was having fun, and someone bought the painting, like a little sketch. And you never know. So you definitely got to share it, because even if it's cafes, if it's art shows, group shows, put yourself out there too, because you never know who's going to walk in, who's going to walk out and want to buy your piece.
And so, as an artist, do you sometimes feel like you may be like your own worst critic? I mean, you're talking about, sometimes you have stuff sold away, you like, maybe this isn't my best work, maybe this, but like, it's up to the consumer, the person who's purchasing it. And especially, I feel like in abstract art as well, it's like you never know what's gonna work. So how do you kind of deal with that? Like criticizing your own work and not necessarily wanting to present it, and then getting the affirmation of like, wait a minute, like this is for somebody. Like, how was that process?
That's a great question. Yeah, it's kind of like to each their own in a way.
Yeah.
Even when I was in school, I think I never pursued figurative painting because I told myself, and that's where I messed up. I told myself that I wasn't good enough, and I think I implanted that in my head that every time I did a portrait or anything like that, anything to do with figure, it just wasn't good. But then since I started doing abstract, I told myself, I was like, you know what, it's okay. Let's go back and do it in your own way, or do it in your own style, your own flavor. Same thing. Here we go again. I'm taking a risk. I don't know if people are gonna like it. People are, but I decided to do a little show. So I'm at Jack London Studios.
All right.
They have a little gallery space. I challenged myself. I put myself out there. I'm like, okay, this is either gonna work or it's not.
Right.
You know, but you need to find out if it is or not. So when I'm not painting, I dance Cuban salsa. So I photographed a lot of the folks that I dance with. So now there's more pressure too, because they're gonna see their paintings, but I told them that this is gonna be abstract. And I did this show of portraits, and I think the more I let go, the more I just put myself out there, and I was like, you know what, like don't put too much pressure on you. Just have fun. That's it. Just have fun with it. And when it started selling, I was like, okay, we got something here. But it was my style. So you definitely need to force yourself to just put yourself out there. You know, yes, there are people that probably gonna hate it, but then there's also people that are gonna love it. And I think getting that mentality of like people hating your work, but just accepting it, that you know what, it's okay. You don't gotta like it. It's fine. I'm gonna do me no matter what. Easier said than done.
Of course.
But yeah, it's a lot of just like putting yourself out there, because there's nobody here to help you out anymore. There are no more teachers telling you that this is right, this is wrong. It all just comes down to you. Yeah. And I felt like I was challenged when the academy invited me back to teach their abstract program for like 2 years. I was like, oh, now I'm on the other side. Like, I'm the teacher here, telling these students that what is right, what is wrong. But I think with the mentality that I came in, where it's like, I want you guys to experiment and put yourselves out there.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then you never know what you're capable of. It's tough. It's tough, but at the same time, if you don't do it, then you just never know. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some of what you were saying also kind of brought up this topic to me of like creative motivation and drawing inspiration. I mean, you talked like, okay, cool. You drew inspiration from the salsa class, you made it abstract, and that was an example. But I'm curious, you know, for some folks, it's like, look, I make hair care products. Does it have to be creative? I wanted to do something that has a very specific function, or you know, with food, or I make clothing. I mean, clothing is also design, but you get what I mean. It's like some folks is more of a product or service, and it's like, I know people need this. So it's like, I farm, and these are things to do. And it's entrepreneurship, but it's like for this, it's like, okay, you talk about style, you talk about inspiration. But you know, how is it like motivating yourself, and while also kind of actively drawing inspiration from your environment and things to like, I gotta make stuff, but I gotta make it my own, and it has to be authentic.
Yeah, like the flower paintings, like for me, it was just like color, design, abstract. But then I mean, when you think about it, like everybody loves flowers. Everybody loves flowers or plants. I don't like I'm still trying to work on that too, where it's like you're trying to find your clientele. Like, who is it that's gonna buy my paintings? But I want to say, like, when you step back, it's like, I think majority of the paintings that I've sold have been through women. It wasn't something I was thinking about. It was just more me just, you know, like just wanting to create.
Got it.
But still have like that abstract, because I did have my clients that love that whole Urban Decay graffiti feel. So now my challenge is, how do I bring in these flowers and still have my collectors that love the whole Urban Decay crossed over. It was bringing some of that flavor, some of that Urban Decay background. But now you got like these flowers on top of it, where it's like, it's abstract. There's a lot of freeness in there. When you step back and you reevaluate everything, it's like it seems like a lot of my abstract flowers are more like women. Women are the ones that are like buying my my abstract flower paintings.
And I think that's kind of a good segue into talking more about the business side of the visual art world as well. I mean, one of the things that you just talked about is just kind of knowing your customer base and understanding your consumer. Obviously, that seems like it varies based on what the specific focus of this like series of things may be. But I'm just curious, how are you? How are you tracking that, and how are you actually thinking about that? Like, is it a thing of like I'm making what I want, and I'll put it out there, and I'll find out who wants it later, or is it like, ooh, I know women in this age bracket and this are more likely to buy this, so I'm catering towards that, or how does it work?
Yeah, so yes, I think from taking the course with ESO, that was more like business side, and I needed to think about more business. I'm creating, I'm painting, it's great, but I wanted to be more structured when it came to that. And I think ESO, taking their course, just made me step back and be like, okay, these are the things I'm not doing. These are the things that I'm avoiding. I was avoiding all the business stuff. I was like, maybe I'll do it later, But it wasn't until I took that course that they opened my eyes to just tracking my views through Instagram. Is it growing? Like, what is working? What is not? Are these posts working or not? Doing videos. So when it comes to my art, I'm not just putting my chips in one basket and hoping that the gallery makes all these sales. It's more of like a few chips here with the gallery. They'll have paintings. I'm hoping that they can sell it. You're doing prints, or like you're doing pop-ups, because that's more affordable to people. Not everyone can afford your big, huge paintings. I do dog portraits on the side, and that, I've never had anyone tell me, hey, can you paint my kid? It's more like, I need you to paint my dog. Like, their dog is like, they are willing to spend a good amount of money on the dog portrait, which, hey, I'm all for it, and then the sip and paint sometimes. So I'm trying all these things, and I'm trying to see what brings in some revenue.
Got it.
And I think just tracking that down. But sometimes I tend to take on a lot, where I'm just like, okay, sometimes it can be overwhelming.
As entrepreneurs do, I feel like that's a common theme, and it's part of the journey. It's like, look, this may be an opportunity to make some money. Let me see how I can go about doing it.
Yeah, and then with the holiday season here, like September, October, November, and December, I started doing pop-ups. So now I'm showing smaller stuff, between $7 and $50 or $170, within that range. But it's stuff where it's like, it's more Christmassy, something quick, something fast, something I can put in the walls. And this year alone, I told myself that in November, I would try to have a pop-up every single month, every single week. So now we're bringing in revenue that I wasn't last year, which is like, okay, this is working. So next year, I know I got to do bigger ones. Do got to spend a little bit more money. But I think the payoff is definitely bringing in funds. So I'm still learning, to tell you the truth. I'm still learning, but it's like, I am trying to be better at tracking stuff down. Like, I'll have like spreadsheets on like Google, just to kind of make sure where these funds are coming from, and that helps out, because then at the end of the month you're like, okay, I did this month wasn't as great, but here, like, you got the holiday season, so it's like, it's going up.
Knowing your data is something that is super important, and I feel like every entrepreneur, regardless of what industry they're in, kind of struggles with that. Because a lot of times you're like, I got this product, I got this service, I need to get it out there and test, and then a lot of times you don't account for a lot of the costs that are associated with that. Sometimes it's like, okay, I got a clothing brand, I did T-shirts, I know what
Yeah.
those cost, and I know what it costs to get a screen print, and that's it. But then you're like, are you factoring in how much it costs to ship it to each place? Are you factoring
Yeah.
in if you're running advertisements on Facebook or
Yes.
Google to get them
Yeah,
there? And then
exactly.
are you factoring in your time of like, man, I had to spend that, and that's part of it, right? The sweat equity side of things, but there are just a lot of things that
Yeah.
you're trying to figure it out. And then it's like, you need to have that data to inform how
Yes.
you move forward. If you can know something about your customer, then it's like, oh, 40-year-old women are the folks who are primarily doing this. I need to go to this specific pop-up or partner
Yes.
with this marketplace, or
Yeah,
when I'm running
exactly.
advertisements, do that because I know they're more likely to spend on the flower painting, and then of course you can get more and more into it. But that's a common thing that everybody who has came on the show has mentioned thus far.
Yeah, like a couple of weeks ago, I went to a flower shop. It was planter day. I walked in there, I needed some plants, told them about the project I was working on, like doing these abstract flowers. And I was like, you know what, since I'm here, let me pitch to them. Let me just be like, hey, this is what I do.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the 15, 20-minute pitch from ESO.
Yeah.
I was there in the moment. I talked to them. I told them about who I am, what I'm about, and they're like, "Hey, if you ever want, we do pop-ups here. You can set up shop in front of the shop." You know, so I was like, I'm gonna take you up on that.
Yeah.
They invited me over. We did a little pop-up. I made money. They were happy. You know, it was like they had people kind of going in and out. So sometimes you gotta reach out. Just gotta put yourself out there,
Yeah.
and you never know. And now I've created that relationship where they're like, you're more than welcome to come whenever you want. You know, just let us know. More than happy to have you here. We can do some sip and paints or a class inside too. So that's what it's about too. Just creating those relationships because you never know.
I've come across, they're all kind of in a similar family of quotes, but essentially, well, there's two quotes. One that you just said is like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, so you never know how opportunity is going to come. But the other one that was interesting to me and that I talked to a lot of folks about is this kind of notion of, as an entrepreneur, and specifically like an artist entrepreneur, a lot of folks are stifled or are held back from trying things in fear of being embarrassed of something, in fear of being rejected. It's like, oh, I make music, I don't know if folks are gonna like it.
Yeah.
And the fear of other people's reaction may prevent you from making stuff public, and you never know what you're sitting on. And so, I'm just, curious. Obviously, you've had all of these different experiences, but like when it comes to putting yourself out there and just doing it, I don't know if you have advice to folks on that, or how do you deal with that?
I mean, a couple months back, I got rejected, and it was hard because I did submit to the D Young. They had like an open call for artists.
Yeah.
I got rejected. That shit hurt. Like that stung. Didn't really show it. It was something I just kept to myself.
Yeah.
But it does, sometimes it can break you down. There's gonna be doors that are gonna open, doors that are gonna be closed. And then right after that, I submitted somewhere else, I got rejected again. I was like, oh man. It's part of being an artist, it's part of being an artist, but you can't take it personally. I did my part. I have no control over who picks what.
Yeah.
But at least I tried. I tried to put myself out there because I knew if I didn't, I would regret it. I would be like, what if? I don't want to have that in the back of my head. I know there's a possibility that you're gonna get rejected, and it's fine. They do what you gotta do, let it out, but then you gotta keep moving forward. Like you can't let it bring you down, or like if you keep thinking about it, it's just gonna drain you. Like you're gonna start all this negativity, and I'm just like, you know what? It happened, let it go, let's move forward. Good and great things are gonna come. And I tell myself that every day. But then the following months, opportunities. I had a mural opportunity, started selling paintings.
Yeah.
I think as long as you stay in a positive state of mind, good and great things do happen.
Oh yeah.
Opposed to being like, just down. Or even though that happened to me, I take that energy and I create, I paint, and those are the moments when you stop caring about anything, when beauty does happen too.
Yeah. it's the ebbs and flows of not just entrepreneurship, but life in general. I feel like, you have opportunities and you apply to things and you get your hopes up, and then but I guess it just kind of comes with the territory. I know plenty of our entrepreneurs, whether it's a grant for something specific, or, you're trying to get in this pop-up or this marketplace, or, applying for funding, or even just like, I applied for a loan through a bank that I was trying to get to fund this project or whatever it is. And it's just kind of like, that's how things kind of work. I'm curious though, another point on just like the monetization of being a visual artist. I know a lot of folks talk about like the diversity of streams of income just within this realm of art. And you kind of mentioned a few of them, but obviously you have the different types of paintings you do that are in different classes. You have the more affordable ones, but then you also talked specifically about teaching at the Academy of Art. But I'm just curious, like, how are you also thinking of these different ways of revenue? There's teaching, there's obviously selling art.
So right now I teach in Oakland.
Cool.
It's called Downtown Charter Academy. It's an after-school program through Get Empowered. They hired me, and they find schools that need art teachers for like after-school programs.
Got it.
That has been consistent, which I'm so grateful for. That alone helps me pay for my studio and rent. And then everything else, like if a gallery sells artwork, the pop-ups, pop-ups are like, you just gotta work on a Saturday or Sunday, which is fine. Hey, I'm gonna make my money, it's all good. My dog portraits, with the dog portraits, you just gotta remind people that, hey, put a post, be like, hey, I paint dog and cat portraits. Because there's a lot of people that love cats too.
A lot of them cats.
Yeah, and hey, as long as they pay my bills or pay my studio, we're good.
We're good.
But it's just, those things, you just gotta remind people that, hey, not only do I paint abstract flowers and other Urban Decay walls, but I also do dog portraits in my own style. You do have to do it repeatedly, because they forget.
Of course.
And then eventually they'll be like, I've been wanting to contact you. Thank you for the reminder. Let's get this portrait done, or like, the sip and paint. That's just something I'm starting to get my foot in the door with. I used to work for someone else. The pay wasn't good. I told myself, what if we invested myself? I bought the easels, I got the paint, I got everything. And within the first event that I did, I hosted, everything was paid for. So it was like, okay, now that I keep doing them, it's all profit kind of coming in. Besides buying for the paint and canvas. But I do take into account all of that. And then what else? It's just the same thing, keeping track of like what's working, what is not working. And then this year alone, I started doing painted hoodies, because I had a hoodie in my studio, and someone was like, hey, I think I did a video post. And they were like, someone reached out, they're like, hey, do you ever sell your hoodie? Would you ever sell your hoodie? I was like, no, because it's one of my favorites, but I can do a custom hoodie if you want. And it's just me, just like being in the studio, just kind of like, using, what I got on me. And they love that. So I was like, okay. So I started taking custom orders here and there.
Interesting.
So it's like, okay, there's fashion too. So it's like, there's so much possibility out there. It's just going to be a lot of more work. It's one of those things where it's like, I'm doing what I love to do, but I'm working some crazy hours. But at the same time, to me, it's like, it's not work. I mean, for me, it's like I get to go and paint and create. I don't see it as work.
I got you. I feel like it makes a big difference when you're doing what you love, because it's some folks who, whatever, sitting, I'm behind a spreadsheet doing these numbers and things all day long, and it's something that will pay the bills. However, when you get into that deeper being, okay, like, how am I actually spending my time in the limited amount of hours that I have? And I think it does make a big difference just in life. It's like, okay, well, I'm finding a way to do the things that I love and monetize those things, and kind of go about it like that. I'm also curious, just from like the financial standpoint, obviously There's like the Capital and Community Fund that ESO has. I mean, there's a lot of CDFIs in the city. There's small business loans and things, but specifically, in the art world, I'm curious, is it mostly like, okay, because I'm creating my own products, sweat equity is the big thing, or is it more like actually because I need a space or because I may want to do a big exhibition or whatever, I need upfront capital to do things? And I'm just curious if you've explored that, or has it been more of a I'm able to utilize my own time? And
I've done grants here and there. Like there are a lot of grants out there. Sometimes it's a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. There are the chance that you're not going to get it. Like I applied for so many. I think during the pandemic, before the pandemic, I've never applied to grants because I think in my head it was just like, I'm not going to get it, man. What are the odds of me getting a grant? And during the pandemic, there was a lot of help happening to artists. And I applied, it might have been like 20 or 15 or 20, and I ended up getting like 2 or 3 of them, which I was like, oh, okay, there's hope.
Yeah.
There's hope. There's hope out there. But a lot of it too is just me reinvesting my funds back into the company.
Yeah.
When it does come to like murals, I do tend to ask for somewhat upfront to kind of help me pay for supplies. But yeah, it's rough. It's hard trying to find funding.
Yeah.
That's something I need to explore more of, I feel.
As it relates to just like the business model of being an artist, obviously you went through ESO's incubator. I don't know if you've done other incubator programs, accelerator programs, but can you talk about the importance of that balance, right? You could be a great artist, but if you don't have like that business acumen, how are you ensuring that you're actually sustaining yourself and your family from this work that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, as an artist, yes, it is important because when you come out of school, we don't think about the business side. We don't think about the business side. And for me to take a course or anything that has to do business related, it's definitely going to elevate you as an artist. It's going to make you step out of your own comfort zone. It's going to help you in ways where you never thought of making money, or like where funding can come from. I know a lot of artists that are kind of like, it's hard for them to kind of put themselves out there, talk to the collectors or clients. They want to be more like on the backside. But I think even just taking a course can definitely help you and get organized too, especially when it comes to making taxes. That it helps out. Like the spreadsheets, like breaking things down, where funding is coming from. So then that way you get a picture, an overall picture of what is working and what is not.
Yeah.
Because when I came out of school, I didn't know anything about business. Like I knew nothing. So I had to go out there and explore. But taking courses, coaches, definitely helps. There was a moment where like I just needed. I think sometimes like it just kind of falls into place where it was like I needed this course, and this course kind of just popped up, and it helped me go after the things that I wanted in life. It's definitely something to explore.
And I feel like it's not just in art school. I just feel like in the education system in general, it's like whether you study sociology or you studied history, or economics, maybe that's like more looking at business. But I just feel like specifically with entrepreneurship, it is very difficult when you go through 12 years of primary school, and if you go to college and you do that and you come out and like, wait a minute, like if I were to start my own business, or if I'm trying to make my own money, like you really end up trial and error and just finding out things on your own. B, looking to peers and folks who are in your community to learn from them. Obviously, it's a lot of YouTubing and internet resources. And then of course, there are places that do like what we do at ESO, the business incubators and accelerators, and that's something that I've experienced. That's something that all of our entrepreneurs have really experienced. And it's like, oh wow, like 16 years of school, and I don't know the first thing about entrepreneurship. I don't know how to set up my own LLC. I don't know how to file my taxes. I don't know how to, about advertising or what are my cost of goods sold or logistics or import fees or custom, like all of these things you kind of have to go through. And so I'm just saying, regardless of if it is art or fashion or software or whatever it is, it's like that is something that folks I feel like don't talk about enough. Like folks are not prepared to be the owners of businesses and entrepreneurs.
I think if I could go back, I would have taken a business class, even though it didn't go with what I was doing. But I think now I would. It would. I think it would definitely help a lot.
And so I'm curious now. I mean, obviously, you have a wide range of ways that you're making money in the art space, from teaching to different tiers to selling your art, to partnerships, exhibits, galleries, all of this. But what is your hope like for the future? What's next? Is there anything you're focusing on or just thinking about as you're moving forward?
I would love to travel with my art. Go overseas, have shows overseas. That would be, I think, just putting myself out there, going out there and introducing myself, and maybe signing up for some group shows, which then maybe can lead to bigger solo show. I think for me, I would love to travel. I think I'm in a position where, like, if an opportunity were to come like that, I would not think twice and just take it. I would be willing to, careful for what you wish for, but if the opportunity came and they're like, hey, we need you to move out here, or like, come out here, I would definitely go for it. Like, wouldn't even think twice. Just go.
That's real. And then I'm just curious, we always like to close out with some pieces of advice and some reflections. And so, for up and coming artists, for young folks in the Bay Area or just anywhere in the world who are like, man, I love art. I'm considering really pursuing some career, whether it's visual art or music, ceramics, whatever. What is your advice to them? What is your reflection for them to kind of think about as they're navigating that decision?
I would say, go with your heart. Go after what do what makes you happy. It's not gonna be easy, but in the long run, it'll definitely be worth it. And even though there are gonna be moments where it'll break you down, it's those moments that have made me stronger and the person that I am today. When my back is against that wall, and you no longer have that safety net, it's those moments that have made me grow, because now that I don't have that safety net, you're gonna go after what you want. And I think I would say embrace those moments. I know it's not gonna be easy, but at the same time, it's like anything's possible. Yeah.
And then as we're closing up, I'm just curious, we've talked all about your art and things, but where can folks find you if they're interested in, booking you for a class or purchasing some of your art and just seeing what you have to offer? Where can they do that?
You can just find me on Instagram, Steve Javiel. I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, I'm on all platforms, just Steve Javiel. And also you can find me in San Francisco, Voss Gallery, that's VOSS. It's like on 24th and Mission Street. There's a gallery there that represents me. You can see all the work there. But mostly Instagram, I would say Instagram.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. You find my work there and follow me, and you can always reach out to me too.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, this was a very dope episode. I'm happy that you made it out and that we were able to speak about this. I feel like, art as business and understanding that is something that folks don't speak about a lot. And so happy we had the pleasure to speak with Steve Javiel today. And looking forward to everything that's to come.
Thank you for having me too. It's been awesome. It's not every day I talk about my work, so it's like, this was cool.
Right on. Appreciate you.